Hi, friends. So, this month you're spending at home. We are going to continue our core knowledge journey, and we're going to start learning about Australia. So, yesterday, many of you sent me a circle map that you made, and you already know a lot of things about Australia. So, I want to share this book with you today. It's called Big Rain Coming, and it's set in Australia. This is a fiction book, right? So, that means it's a made up story. There's some words you're going to need to know as we read the story. So the first one is billabong. And a billabong means a watering hole, right? It's where animals can come and drink water and people can swim. So in Australia, they call a water hole a billabong. Okay. A serpent. So a serpent is a snake. And you will see this all throughout the illustrations in the book. The serpent. Okay, let's read the book. Big Rain Coming. As we read, I want you to think about another book we read set in Africa about rain. Okay? Big Rain Coming. Here's the title page. On Sunday afternoon, old Stephen nodded to the dark clouds spreading in the south. Big rain coming, he said. But on Monday, there was no rain. Why does Stephen think there's rain coming? What did the illustrator do to show you that there would be rain? Can you tell? The night was so warm, Rosie's kids dragged their beds outside to maybe feel some breeze while they slept. I wonder who Rosie's kids are. The author doesn't really tell us. They're sleeping outside. That sounds fun. On Tuesday, there was still no rain. The panting dogs at Roberta's place dug themselves dusty holes to keep cool. Oh, do you know what dogs do when they're hot? I wonder why they dug holes to keep cool. Do you know why? So think about when you're at the beach. When you're walking in the sand, the top layer, the top part of the sand is very hot and it burns your feet. But if you're playing in the sand and you dig a little bit, do you feel the coolness from the water underneath the ground? I think that's why the dogs dug dusty holes. On Wednesday came, and still no rain. The children swam in the billabong after school. The water was warm and still. Do you remember what billabong means? It means water hole. This is one of my favorite illustrations on this page. I love all the colors of the blue and purple together, and I like how the people are silhouettes in black. Do you think it's ever going to rain? By Thursday night, there was still no rain. There's old Stephen, and the kids are playing. I don't see that rain cloud anymore. Looks like Stephen's still waiting. The fat green frogs huddled around the leaky tap on the rainwater tank. Why do you think the frogs are hanging out there? Do you think the ground is dry? And frogs need to stay kind of wet. So they're hanging out for the drips. I like the way the sun looks too. Oh. Then on Friday evening, the thick gray clouds over the hills were echoing with thunder. Look at this illustration. It definitely seems like it's going to rain. Big rain coming, said Stephen. But there was still no rain. On Saturday, there was rain. Look at this, friends. Wonderful, cool, wet rain. The end. So when I read this book, it reminds me of Bringing the Rain to Kapiti Plain, right? In that book, what we read when we were learning about Africa, things were dying, right? They had a drought, and everybody was waiting for the rain and waiting for the rain. Remember Kaipat shot a feather into the sky and it rained. This book kind of reminds me of that book a little bit. So this, I want to show you some more of the illustrations. So one thing that you're going to learn about Australia is the first people that ever lived in Australia are called Aborigines. That's like when we learned about Native Americans. They were the first people to live in our country, the United States of America. We call them Native Americans. In Australia, they call them Aborigines. And they have a really cool way of doing art, this dot painting you'll see here. So they paint with little dots, okay, and some lines. And all through the book, you'll see examples of this dot painting. So one of my favorite examples is that sun I showed you. So here's that sun with all the dot painting around it. That's the style of Aboriginal art. And here's the serpent. So a serpent is a symbol for the Aborigines who live in Australia. And it's this dot painting here, like this. I wish we were at school because then we could do this dot painting. But next week, I think I'm going to send your parents maybe some videos about how kids are doing dot painting. And maybe if you have paint at home or if you have markers or crayons, you can try it out because it's a lot of fun to do. In kindergarten, we would have used Q-tips and paint. So maybe you have Q-tips and paint. You could try this out, this dot painting. But there's lots of examples on the internet. All right, so this is a book that's set in Australia. We're going to learn about a lot of Australian animals, like the koala and the wombat and the kangaroo and the platypus. The platypus is my favorite Australian animal. All right, I hope you're doing well.